happy to have you here today, guys. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about another reclaiming our personal authority. This relates to power. This relates to innocence. This relates to our ability to act in our own behalf and to exercise our capabilities in our world. So, if you're new to me, I help codependents heal their trauma, know themselves, and create happy, healthy relationships in their world. And also, I got to get this shared out to the community, which is your safe haven here on the internet, where you can get support, guidance, tools, and understanding the challenges you face as you heal from codependency and discover who you are beyond it. So let me get that shout out to them. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Hit subscribe if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Instagram, it's lovely to see you. You can look us up at Thriving Beyond Codependency Community on Google, or check out my website at www.freetheself.com and join there. Now I gotta just find the thingy. So let me know how you guys are doing. There's a lot of tension out there right now. It's not an easy thing going on. So lots happening. Boom. Gonna hit that share button. Share to a group. Yay. Will it work? Things are slow today, apparently. So, talking about personal authority. I'll just jump into it while this waits to do whatever it's going to do. Personal authority is about your capability of acting in your behalf. In other words, you're the one who chooses what goes on for you. You're the one that determines the truth of something for yourself. You're the one who determines what's appropriate for you. It's on you. Personal authority is really the ability to go, this works for me, that doesn't. I say yes to this, I say no to this. It's also how we choose consequence through our behavior. It's a really, really important concept. Because if we're looking for a particular kind of consequence that we want, maybe like love or acceptance or understanding, we got to make sure our behaviors and our choices are lining up with that outcome. This gets into the what, how, who structure of how relating works. So you have basically 4 components in a relationship. You have the what, the how, the who, and the outcome. Okay? And what I want and how I want it informs me about whom to choose in my world to get the result I want. Right? And sometimes that whom, the person we choose, is ourselves. I need to choose myself first and understand and accept me as I am before I can go out and do that effectively with others and receive and contribute to them, receive from them. So this is the idea of personal authority. It's about defining what is and how that what works, which is the how. Okay? You have the right to determine what that is for you because you are the God of your life, basically. You're the authority in your world. And ultimately, because you inherit the consequence that comes with the choice and the actions you take, you're the authority because you're the one who has to pay the price for it. Think of it in that terms. Because when we start coming from that approach, then it becomes a lot simpler to go, based on what this person has done in my life, what can I predict I'll get? Is that the consequence I want to live with? Does this add to my well-being? Things like that. It simplifies these processes or these questions, the answers to these questions, because we're looking at things in a practical, pragmatic way, rather than living in hope or living in a fantasy that our behaviors can influence them to be who we want them to be, which is a codependent fantasy. It's the fantasy of potential. We don't have any business defining what they can and can't do. Our business is to determine what we need in our world, establish and follow that. That's it. Now, authority is an internal thing. It's not something that someone gives you. It's not someone that another person grants to you. It's something that's intrinsic in you. And that authority, it pertains to very specific things. You have the authority to determine what you do with what you feel. You have the authority to determine your desires, your choices, and your actions. You do not have authority to determine someone else's feelings, choices, actions, and desires. You also don't have the ability the authority to determine the consequence of your choices. Because sometimes we make choices, we get consequences we don't want to really live with. Well, that's the rub. That's how this works, my friends, is that we make choice, consequence happens, we have to be willing to receive that. That keeps us in ownership. It keeps us accountable. It keeps us conscious and sober about what's going on. This also allows us to stay out of the way of other people's choices and actions and the consequences they receive because of them. Because again, if you look at this from an authority standpoint, someone is exercising their authority to behave a certain way, then they get a certain consequence. That's their lesson. That's what's going to teach them. That's what's going to expand them and empower them to make better choices down the road. So reclaiming authority is really about taking responsibility and ownership for the choices and actions we make and receiving the consequence that comes with them. This is essential to your well-being. It's essential to your happiness. It's essential to your healing. Because from here, we can discern what is ours and what is not. We can build effective boundaries and effective connection. We can build an understanding of what we need and want and how we want it, so that we can make better choices as to whom we choose to be vulnerable with, to build relationship with, to connect with. It allows us to act and get out of any internalized or perceived sense of helplessness or powerlessness, because your power is in your ability to choose and act. It is not in the ability to get someone else to give you something. It's usually where our powerlessness and our helplessness comes from, is that I couldn't get them to love me, so I'm a powerless person. Well, you really didn't have the ability to do that anyway, because that's something they choose to do on their accord. So their lack of love towards you isn't a reflection on your worthlessness or your valuelessness, because it doesn't determine that. You have innate value, you have innate worth. So they are valuing or lack of valuing, and that doesn't determine your value or your worth. What it does is it demonstrates where they're at in their life in relationship to you. And it's really important. And this is the hard thing here when it comes to authority. So you still really start to wrestle with it. We start to realize that I might be choosing to agree with them. I might be choosing to see myself as worthless because they see me that way. So I'm using my authority against myself there. What would it be like if I retrieved my value from them and said, I'm valuable regardless of their approval or their rejection? I have worth, period. What if that became your standard? That became your foundation? And suddenly things can really shift, because you're like, wow, I don't really need them to like or approve of me. I've got my own approval. What I'm looking for is actually connection and belonging. And is this something I'm experiencing with this person? Is this something that is present with them, right? Now we're getting into the action. We're getting into the power of your how. It's like, wow, I know what to do here. I know what I'm looking for. Now I'm going to go out and find it. That empowers us to succeed. That gives us our joy, because this is how it works. We don't have natural power over other people. We have natural powerlessness. We have some level of influence, but ultimately they're the ones who choose what goes on. So in our authority, we're able to exercise our power around our value, around how we connect with our worth and with our innate worthiness, our innate value, as I call it in the happiness strategy, and cultivate it. Because there's this funny thing, we got choice, right? We got options. So I can cultivate a sense of lack of worthless, I can cultivate a sense of worthlessness with my choices and actions towards myself, or I can cultivate a sense of worth towards myself. This is in my authority. This is in my power, because that involves my feelings, my choices, my actions, my desires. I can nurture this. It's one place where authority can really change our world, yet it can be very, very challenging. So lean into that. Consider that as you practice. Hey, where's my power? Who am I giving power to? What am I giving them power in? Well, do I want to retrieve that? Do I retrieve my authority over my own value? Do I want to be the one that determines this for me? That's what we're going for. So reclaiming your authority is about reclaiming your choice, your action, your feelings, your desires from the approval or rejection of other people, and beginning to make them based on what you need in your world for your well-being and your happiness. That doesn't mean other people will change. That does mean you can ask for them to change. You can make a request and say, hey, can we change this, and see what they do. But if they don't want to do it, that's the end of the road. That's something where we have to accept. And then we have to start making different choices for ourselves for our well-being, because that is your yard. That's where your authority is most empowered, is in taking care of you. So consider this today as you explore your own sense of authority and power in your world, so that you can heal and you can have your wholeness and discover it for yourself, because it truly is intrinsic. It's something we have to choose, and it's then something we have to cultivate. The happiness strategy goes deep on this. This is what it's designed to do, is help you cultivate what's called your innate value, true voice, and your vision. You can learn more about that. The link's above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And then if you want to build healthy relationships where the other person, as they are, shows up and values you as you, that cares about who you are and appreciates you, then the relationship strategy is your next step. And the link for getting on the wait list is above. Enrollment won't open up for about another 11 days, so we got a little time there. But I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to teach you what your what is, what your how is, and so that you can find the who that creates the result you want, right? So what do I want? How do I want it? Who aligns with that? And then I get the result I want, which is happiness or joy. I've taught this to over like 100 people so far, and I have 54 marriages under my belt with this process. So it's got a lot of power there. So today, guys, you have the right to claim your authority. You have the right to occupy the space of being your own authority. You don't have to give it to anybody else, including me, or any guru, any coach, any leader of any type does not have authority. Don't give it to them. You're the authority. You determine what works for you. You determine what is safe for you. You determine how things work in your world. You are the authority. Okay? Appreciate you. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will see you guys in our next video. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.